Hello and welcome to the ASMR. This is my first ever episode, which I think is cause for celebration, but instead of clapping, I'm just gonna snap my fingers for sheer joy that this is finally kicking off. You can call me Jay, and I'm your study buddy here today and for all episodes going forward. I hope there are many more to come. Before we start talking about astrology and tarot and magic, I wanted to introduce myself a little bit. I'm currently based in Japan, but I came all the way from the Bronx. Shout out to the Bronx, where I was born and raised. It's hard to talk about my path here without mentioning my mom, though, and I realized when I was writing the notes for this introductory episode, I realized how much I actually miss my mom. And of course you always do, if you know how it is living far away from family, but there's just moments when you just have a realization or it hits you a little bit harder than usual. So hi mom. My mother is a short Taino Puerto Riqueña, and she's always been into witchy things. It's just a part of our culture in some ways, but now that we live further apart than ever, it's when everything just kind of truly clicks. So going forward, a lot of this is going to be about my upbringing and how I got here today. My mother used to have dream interpretation books all around the house with lucky numbers based on dreams. I have definitely played with her tarot cards that lay around the house as a child. I don't know if she ever had a full deck, and I'm not quite sure if that was my fault or not. But we always used to go to La Botanica together. If you don't know what that is, La Botanica is kind of a spiritualism shop. It's non-denominational. There are many different kinds of religious and spiritual items you can buy, like herbs, oils, prayer books, astrology books, candles, incense. It goes on and on and on. And it's such a wonderful place. I wonder if the one we used to go to is still there or not, but now everything is so online, so I would love to go back home and see if the shop is still there. But whenever we would go to La Botanica, I insisted on getting out of the car. I really wanted to go. I didn't get my way every time, but such is life. My mother, in our apartment, she had a horseshoe, big horseshoe, heavy metal, I believe iron horseshoe, and palm leaves hanging over the front door. She used to blow cigar smoke in the corners of the house on certain Sundays or perhaps on important anniversaries. And if you know, you know, but she made us ritually clean to Celia Cruz and La India on Sundays. She always had Florida water right next to a bottle of holy water. White candles always in the house, not only for emergencies, but very helpful when we did need them. My mother trusted all of the numbers that appeared in my younger sister's dreams. So sometimes we would go together to play the numbers, and we would actually win small cash prizes, sometimes a couple thousand, which was very, very powerful to see, especially coming from our household. We only had my father's income to rely on. So, I'm only realizing how powerful that really is, and how empowering for us to have, like, our experiences be acknowledged. But my sister was born with a great gift, and I, however, got to have recurring nightmares of the Chucky doll chasing after me near nightly. But thanks to my upbringing, I got to read horoscopes in English and Spanish, although now my Spanish ability is more of a cause for shame, and I should practice. My mother forced me to attend religious instruction at a local Catholic school after school once a week, but I went with our neighbors in the next building, so it wasn't all that bad, but I can't say I remember much. I don't think that I ever really liked it as an elementary school kid. Besides that, we only went to church for baptisms. So my mom was really excited, as you probably can imagine, when I made a Christian friend in middle school and we started going to church in Queens together. E, you know who you are. I'm gonna say E. If somehow you find yourself listening to this, hello, and I hope you and your family and your brother and your cousin are doing well. But yes, my mom was very excited because that's about the age when you start to have crushes, you start disobeying your parents, and so on. So I did my Christianity thing for a little bit, and then I didn't anymore, and that kind of happened a bit naturally. Of course, there's the hypocrisy of the church that I fully acknowledged, and that was real. But also just growing older and ultimately attending separate high schools kind of led us to go separate ways, and yeah, I don't know, it just naturally kind of grew apart. New friend groups and all that. Many years later, however, in university, I converted to Taoism. After beginning a relationship with someone in college and attending studies and services at Temple in Chinatown. And I thought that after moving to Japan that it would be much easier to continue my Taoism study in Asia due to proximity, but however, unfortunately, that has not been the case. So that makes me really sad. After riding all of these waves of spiritual understanding, I find myself uniquely and perhaps not surprisingly full circle with maybe not as many answers, but an unabashed exploration of different belief systems, many of which, and as you can probably tell by my story so far, are really largely underscored by the co-presence of community and friendship. And it makes me so happy to now say with the ATM ASMR, okay, this is what I want to learn, and this is what I'm feeling called to learn more about and explore, and to keep the underlying component of community and connection in mind. The same is true for my tarot block Juxtaposed space, which is going to hit its second year very soon. As we go into the new year. So that's exciting. With the ATM ASMR, I find that I'm on my own path of learning and uncovering and working towards making my own personal practice, and I do really appreciate the breadth of spiritual experiences and objects, in my home and such as these, that have kind of always been around, even though I maybe took them for granted. However, I always say, like, your timing is the best timing, and I think this is such a good, perfect time for me to be here. But whether it was sitting on my mom's bed with tarot cards, or in church in Queens, in the cold wooden chairs, at Catholic school after school, with my eyes closed in temple reciting Taoist chants, there's always a feeling that there's something greater, there's something deeper and greatly compelling. So with that said, I hope to give these future episodes some kind of structure and flow, but for me, I also believe that learning does not happen in a linear fashion, especially when it's self-guided. So I will try my absolute best to present and explain ideas in a way that makes sense. I myself am still a beginner in a lot of these topic areas, so I'm not speaking as an expert. I will cite my sources whenever I quote and use outside sources. And I hope to use this largely as an audio journal or scrapbook. I want this to be an audio reference for myself, but also one others can find helpful. So if you've listened this far, I thank you, and I hope you'll be around for episode 2. I plan to start a handful of episodes on astrology, starting with the planets. But before that, I do want to share a few important terms that'll make the introduction of each of the planets much easier to grasp. But that's coming up next. So if you have any discussion questions, episode suggestions, or comments, you can find the ATM ASMR on Instagram and Twitter at the ATM ASMR. You can also leave any messages for me at JXTPOSED me at JXTPOSED.space. Thank you so much, and see you next